Oh, that's not so much. So?
The Thunder so far this season have shot fewer free throws than their opponents in 13 out of 16 of their games. OKC in 2024-2025 has attempted 304 shots from the foul line compared to their opponents who have taken 405. That is over 100 more attempts, and despite that massive chasm in attempts and bad injury luck, the Thunder have still managed to stay near the top of the West with a 12-4 record and a 10.4 net rating, which ranks second best in the NBA, only behind the Cavaliers, who started their season 15-0. So why are the Thunder and their fans so frustrated over free throws right now? Mark Daignault the other day brought receipts to his post-game presser to put just how bad things are into perspective when it comes to the Thunder and their free throw numbers.
Yeah, our free throw rate per 100 is like the lowest in franchise history. You know, that's like a fact. And I know like Sigma was really like milking the free throws back in the day, but we were the lowest in history. But that's a source of frustration.
Truthfully, how could that not be frustrating? The Thunder are shooting at such a low free throw rate that it goes back past the team relocating to OKC from Seattle, the days of Jack Sigma, Gary Payton, Dennis Johnson, Kevin Durant, or anyone else. The craziest part is that the Thunder aren't just getting to the line at a low rate by their franchise's standards, but historical standards. If OKC can keep up their pace of a 20.9 free throw rate, they would finish with the 7th worst free throw rate in NBA history. And look, I get it, every fan base in the NBA, NFL, MLB, and even down to T-ball thinks that the referees are out to get their team. And I know that this is a Thunder-focused channel, but these numbers are so eye-popping that I felt like they more than deserved a deeper look into seeing why OKC's free throw numbers are so low, if they should be higher, and if there's anything the Thunder can do to help their fight to get to the free throw line more often. The Oklahoma City Thunder are currently leading the NBA in drives per game, just as they have for the past 4 straight years. Driving into the paint toward a crowd of players and generating more contact tends to yield more free throws than just about any play in basketball. Conventional basketball wisdom would tell you that more drives should equate to more free throws, right? The Thunder sure think so. In this ongoing 5-year stretch of driving dominance, SHAI Gilgeous-Alexander has been the front man for OKC, leading the league in drives for 5 straight seasons, as well as having 4 of the 5 highest drives per game seasons since the NBA started tracking that stat in 2014.
And we're leading the league in drives as a team, you know, and that's not just SHAI. SHAI leads the league in drives individually, but the team's in there as well.
Mark isn't wrong here. SHAI isn't the only one driving to the rim for the Thunder, but he does carry a massive load on his shoulders with 22.7 of OKC's 61.4 drives per game coming from SGA. That is a whopping 35%'s worth of the Thunder's driving averages. JDUB is a distant second with 11.7 drives per game, which has him ranked 32nd in the NBA and taking up 17.9% of Thunder drives. Chet Holmgren comes in at 3rd at 6.8 drives per game, which ranks 84th in the NBA and takes up another 10.4% of the OKC driving pie. If you take out JDUB and Chet's drives, SHAI by himself averages almost as many drives as the rest of the Thunder roster combined. I'm going to use Memphis as a measuring stick throughout this video to put the Thunder's stats into context. The Grizzlies are often a team that Thunder fans cite when talking about free throws this season because of Memphis's rank as the 2nd highest drives per game team in the NBA, while also being ranked in the top 4 free throw attempts per game at 24.7, compared to the 28th ranked Thunder at 19.4 free throws taken per game. The Grizzlies, like the Thunder, have their driving attacks spearheaded by a star guard. For the Grizzlies, that's Ja Morant, who ranks 5th this season among players to play in at least 10 games in drives per game. So why are the Thunder shooting so many fewer free throws than the Grizzlies if their driving numbers are comparable? What I found in my research is that the Grizzlies do a much better job of spreading out their drives across the roster. As you can see on this pie chart, Memphis distributes their drives across the roster in rotation. You obviously don't want to take the ball out of your best player's hands too much just for the sake of variety, but the Grizzlies have managed to have the best of both worlds with their drives. Despite not taking up as many of his team's drives as SHAI, Ja Morant still has a higher usage percentage this season of 32.7% compared to SHAI at 32.2%. The drives being more spread out allows for more opportunities for fouls and free throw attempts across the Grizzlies roster. This season, 18 out of the top 25 players in free throw attempts per game rank in the top 50 of drives per game. Another way to get to the line is through post-ups. The Thunder, as we all know, have anything from a traditional big rotation, even with Hartenstein returning. He's not exactly a go-to-work on the block type of player. Of those top 25 players in free throw attempts per game this season that I just mentioned, 24 out of the 25 all rank in the top 50 of drives per game or post-ups per game. Only 6 players in the entire NBA rank top 50 in both drives per game and post-ups per game. That list includes LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Devin Booker, and SHAI Gilgeous-Alexander. Just as we saw with the drives, SHAI also holds the lion's share of free throw attempts for the Thunder. Of OKC's 19.4 free throw attempts per game, SHAI is responsible for 7.4 of those attempts, which is good for 35.2% of the pie. Similar to the drives, Chet and JDUB are the two in the middle between SHAI and the rest of the roster. Comparing that to the Grizzlies, once again you see that wealth spread more evenly across the board, and I think that in part comes back to the distribution of drives. But even if you want to go by totals and not per games, things don't exactly get any more leveled out for the Thunder. This season, OKC has attempted 310 free throws, 125 of those have been from SHAI, second on the team is Chet with 49, and he hasn't even played in the last 6 games. JDUB comes in at third with 44, Dort at fourth with 29, and the rest of the roster outside of that top 4 have combined for 59 total free throw attempts this year. Once again, SHAI seems to be an outlier to the rest of the Thunder roster. Switching sides back to the Grizzlies, who have attempted 420 foul line shots, 81 have come from Jaren Jackson Jr., 54 from Ja Morant, 44 from Scottie Pippen Jr., and to round out their top 4, Jake LaRavia has attempted 40. The rest of the Grizzlies roster has combined for 240 free throws, good for 52.3% of Memphis's attempts. I'm sure by this point many of you are screaming at your screen that you get it already, that the Grizzlies spread their drives out more generously than the Thunder. I think that in part translates to the wealth of free throws being distributed as well. But it can't be as simple as getting guys other than SHAI more drives to solve this issue, right? I mean, there has to be something with how they're driving, right? I felt the same way and watched every drive attempt by a Thunder player this season to see if anything stood out. For the sake of time and my sanity, I won't be going through the entire roster and their driving habits, but rather a handful of guys who I thought had more distinct potential issues that could be improved upon to help the Thunder in their free throw shortcomings this season. SHAI Gilgeous-Alexander this season is down roughly 1 free throw attempt per game from last season and nearly 2 attempts from 2 seasons ago in 2022-2023. For as much free throw merchant discourse that goes around Twitter regarding SHAI, watching these clips I can't help but believe that not only does he not have a golden whistle, but he should be getting even more free throws than he is this season. The Thunder and their players have mentioned this before, but just like the players, sometimes the referees are going to miss, and that's just a human thing. Nobody can be perfect. The frustration I think Mark is referring to that the fans are feeling as well is during plays like this where the contact is ignored and in the next game it's called a foul. The only thing that the Thunder are really begging for is consistency on these whistles. SHAI, because of his herky-jerky pace, I would assume is hard to referee, but still, even with that in mind, watching the tape of all of OKC's players, he seems to be getting shorted the most on his free throw attempts. Next up under the microscope is Jalen Williams. JDUB may be a rising star, but for now he's still not getting any of those signature star calls thrown his way. As a matter of fact, his free throws are actually slightly down from last season. There are times when I feel like Dub almost gets punished for being too dynamic of an athlete because of the way that he can Eurostep and avoid contact on his drives, and he's good enough to get away with it for the most part and still finish at the rim, but for him to take that next leap into stardom, his free throw numbers are going to have to increase. He loves these spin moves on his drives where he can create some extra separation, but many times it feels like they come at the cost of him getting a closer look at the rim. I think what could help him the most is really embracing the physicality on these drives and bringing the boom to the defense more than adapting to the contact defenses throw his way. We have seen this from him before where he can lower his shoulder and move smaller players, and I would love to see a lot more of that from him this season because I think it would likely result in more frequent trips to the line for him as well. CASON Wallace is a young player that I continue to be really high on as an elite defender with a nice growth plate on offense. He can finish with either hand, but hardly ever finishes possessions at the free throw line. CASON, in my opinion, is losing a lot of opportunities at free throws due to him settling for floaters. Maybe I'm totally off base, but this is not a shot I remember him using super frequently during his rookie season. CASON at times has shown really high level talents as a finisher, so him settling for these floaters is kind of confusing. He's an elite athlete who will put defenders on a poster if they aren't careful when he attacks the rim. Similar to Dub, I'd like to see a little bit more physicality on these drives where CASON is the one delivering the contact and bumping defenders off their spots instead of the other way around. I think that will lead to better finishing numbers along with a few more fouls due to a more consistent stream of contact in his drives. Aaron Wiggins may have saved basketball, but he can't seem to buy a free throw. Through 16 games and in 341 minutes played this season, he has taken a total of 11 free throws. Wiggs makes his money more on threes and cuts, but he still manages to contribute as a driver in OKC's offense. It really stood out to me just how many times he attacks the rim with these sorts of slower, long stride drives. With these plays, I think it makes him more easily bumped off of his spot and loses balance. Because of the pace and long strides of these drives, it makes it appear as if less contact is occurring than in reality. It's a tough situation, but I understand why the referees are not jumping to call all of these that on the first watch a lot of times look like 50-50 calls at best. Where Wiggs is at his best on drives is when he's quick and decisive getting downhill in a hurry. Physicality once again is the name of the game, but in quicker drives I would assume there's a much higher chance to draw a few more fouls than those previously mentioned longer strides, slow drives. Lu Dort has continued to improve steadily throughout his career as a driver, but there are still times when his old habits will show up. Lou from time to time will drive in a way that looks more or less like he's out of control, and in those situations the referees more times than not are going to side with not blowing their whistles. I don't think anyone would ever question Lou's physicality, so to me I think his path to improvement at generating more free throws is more so in continuing to trim the fat off of his drives and looking more visibly under control when he attacks the basket. AJ Mitchell has been one of the bigger surprises for OKC this season as a second-round draft pick rookie. AJ consistently finds himself at the rim finishing well when he gets there. Other than being a rookie, I think what could potentially be holding him back from more free throws is similar to Dort in the sense of him driving like his hair is on fire to the point where at times it can look like he's out of control. AJ does a great job of exploding the rim and finishing around contact, but he falls on these drives really frequently. And to be fair, he's definitely getting fouled on some of these. I'm not calling him a flopper by any means. Sometimes you have to sell a call, and other times the safest option is to fall down rather than a potential awkward landing. But I do think this could potentially hold AJ down for now, where referees see him fall so frequently that it's hard to distinguish when the falls are caused by a foul or not. The last point I'll touch on that I think could potentially be a contributing factor to OKC's low free throw rate is how many threes the Thunder are putting up. Over the last decade, the math and analytics have swung more and more in favor of the three ball. The Celtics last year in a lot of ways won a title on the back of a great defense and high volume three-point shooting. Three-point shooting is not bad. I'm not going boomer mode here saying to ban the three-point line by any means. But I think the ratio of 2s to 3s for the Thunder might be hurting them in terms of getting to the line. OKC this season has attempted a total of 637 shots from deep, and do you know how many fouls OKC has drawn on those 3s? A whopping 0, zilch, none. So far this year, only 14 players have played a total of at least 25 minutes. Of those 14 players, 7 have attempted more 3s than 2s this season. That's right, for half of the Thunder's rostered players, they have had more than 50% of their shot attempts come from 3. Again, this is not to villainize 3s by any means. If you want to win in 2024-2025, you're going to have to shoot and make 3s to compete. The Thunder's offense to a large degree is predicated on the drive and kick game, and those are more possessions in which a drive has no chance of being converted into free throws. In my opinion, there are a few too many possessions where the Thunder are passing up good shots at the rim in pursuit of great shots from 3, and I think that harms their free throw rate inadvertently. Not to a massive degree, but maybe 1 to 2 free throws per game added could make the difference in a few different games. As I previously mentioned, the Thunder, despite playing with an all-time franchise low in free throw rate this season, have continued to win at a high clip and have stayed near the top of the Western Conference rankings so far. I'm merely a guy just trying to flip over rocks and trying to find answers as to why OKC's free throw numbers are so low. I do think there is a way to improve though without a complete overhaul of the Thunder's offensive approach, philosophy, and scheme. The physicality is simple and a bit cliche, but I think that is the best path to hopefully helping the Thunder bounce back to around a league average free throw rate this year. But what do you think? Is there anything in particular that you think might be the cause of these low free throw numbers for the Thunder? Do you have any different ideas as to how OKC could fix this problem, and is this problem even fixable? Let me know in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, but as always, until next time, thanks for watching.